The next rack I want to go over is this tom generator rack. This is one of my favorite racks because it solves a huge problem for me. Every time I want a tom fill, I'm typically typing in tom fill or whatever in my Ableton browser, and I'm never finding exactly what I want, whether it's the pattern, the length, or the tom samples themselves. So this rack is pretty similar to the other racks where it has 4 different samplers, each containing tom samples. Each sampler has its own individual pitch control, which is really useful for making tom fills. On top of that, we have gated reverb, the amount of gate applied to that reverb, the length of the gate. We have a pan spread, which is really cool. I'll explain that later. We have a delay, and we could either go dotted eighth notes or eighth notes, and we have compression and distortion. So I'm gonna turn off this snare fill that we have at the end of the phrase and make a tom fill. Now let's turn off everything but the kick and the tom and hear what it sounds like. Now this already sounds really good, but we can take it a little further. Let's take a look at this delay and start by turning that on. Already that's adding so much groove to this tom fill, and the difference between the straight eighth notes and the dotted eighth note delay is so huge. On top of that, we have this gated reverb. Now this gated reverb is kind of like an 80s style reverb. Let's listen to it without the reverb. It is night and day difference. It sounds so much better to me with this reverb on. So now let's talk about this pan spread. This is one of my favorite features I've put in any of my racks. So I loaded up an imager so we can see exactly what's going on in the stereo field. Let's start by turning down the reverb, delay, and the pan spread and hear what it sounds like. These toms are hitting right down the middle with minimal stereo information. Now listen and look what happens when we turn the pan spread up. I added this feature because I wanted you to be able to hear the toms like you would if you were sitting in a drummer's seat.